And recording. All right, we're recording. We're on. Don't screw up.
I'll try not to.
All right. Guys, thanks for joining me again for another one of our Startup Without Burnout interviews. I have with me Nick Cavalancia, who is a self-proclaimed tech evangelist and is co-founder of Conversational Geek and is a 20-year IT veteran who regularly speaks, writes for some of today's more recognizable companies, and he's a 3-time VP of marketing and a successful, which I want to point out the difference between successful and just a serial entrepreneur, but a successful serial entrepreneur. And he is also, yeah, I know, right? And he also is one of my very, very good friends and a great client of mine who I do a lot of work over for his company, Conversational Geek, which is how he got conned into being here today. So,
yep.
Nick, thank you so much for joining us and doing an interview for us.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, Alex. Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to jump right into the questions because I know you've got a lot
Sure.
going on today, and so do I. Granted, I just want to point out that at the time of this recording, it is election day, so get out there and vote. And if you didn't, it's your fault. Whatever happens.
Going after this call, that's when I'm going to vote.
Oh, are you?
Yes, I am.
Yay! Okay. So, all right, Nick, how did the path, and I really just kind of want to ask you how the path started and how did you become a business owner? Because you didn't start out going, I'm going to own a business.
No, I think it started with seeing a need more than anything. I have 2 businesses I'm running right now. One is called Tech Evangelism. It's at techevangelism.com. In the tech space, you have technical evangelists, some whose job is out there is to exacerbate the pain and tell someone why if you don't buy their product, I guess you're going to tech hell or whatever the case is, right? And so there's a need there for someone that understands marketing, but also understands technology and then can actually speak and articulate what the problem is, what the pain is, try to connect with the audience in a way that they feel like, oh, you understand what I'm going through. Yes. So I started that business because of the need. And then with Conversational Geek, it was very similar. It was people are very tired in the tech space of seeing the same old boring assets. I write white papers all the time for my customers, but a lot of times there's a stigma around even a white paper, a 6-page document that kind of walks you through a story about the premise of being a problem and how to solve it properly from a technical perspective. And the challenge is it's not always engaging, or at least the stigma with a white paper is it's not engaging. And so my co-founder, J. Peter Brazzi, and myself, we came up with an idea of how to do this in a way that is engaging. It's got cartoons on the cover, for crying out loud. And the idea is to make it something where it's different. It's actually in print, which people think, print is dead. But we found a really interesting way to make it unique because people would pick up the book and go, huh. And they would read that. And so we're finding these needs where, how do I make it engaging? How do I do it where it's going to educate people? And so back to just answering your question, the short version of that was finding a need and solving a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to let you guys know, with the Conversational Geek books that he's talking about, I've done a lot of business development and strategy with him. And the books are so smart and so well put together because they do take really, really high level discussions and put them at a more everyday type of approach, which is really useful to a lot of people, especially when you've got startups and entrepreneurs and people that are trying to put together networks and businesses. And all of a sudden there's all this stuff you didn't think about when you were first going into this because you're like, wait, what's a WAN? Hold on, why do I need to move things to the cloud? And oh God, what's going, Microsoft 10, I had Mac last week. So
I had somebody the other week actually ask me, what is the cloud? What exactly is the cloud? To explain what it is.
But there's a lot of people that are going to be listening to this and watching this right now that are going, wait, so the cloud is not actually a cloud. The cloud is a group of
I hope not.
in Dallas. Wait, what? So there's,
yeah.
But if you don't know and if you didn't have the background that you and I have. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right. So because you've been a successful entrepreneur for so many times, and you've,
this is my 4th business. Yeah.
And and you've gone in and out of corporate and you've just been very fluid with your actions. I don't want to ask you how long it took you to hit your first 6-figure mark because that's an interesting story and I've heard it, but I want to know how long it took you to get to a level of success in your mind that this was something you wanted to continue to do?
I love that. So my first business was an IT consulting business. I was in IT for 20 years, I'll give you a different measure. 6 figures. That's a different story, and it goes back many, many, many years. But the different way that I measured success for the business was actually getting to a point where I'll say it this way, and the time frames could differ for anybody in your audience, but this would be a good kind of litmus test. Where for me, when I had my old consulting business, it took me actually to get I think it was about 3 or 4 years to get to a point where I had no idea what was coming 2 weeks from now, but I knew I had money coming in no matter what. I always had work. And it worked that way. And that sounds kind of weird, right? You're going, I have no clue what I'm doing in 3 weeks, but I know there'll be something there. And so it took a couple of years with my first business. And with Tech Evangelism, which was technically my third business, and I've been now doing that for, I think, 3 years now, full time, it only took me, I think it was 6 months. And so it's vastly different. I think once you learn from one business and you learn how to make connections and build the relationships, and you start getting a sense for when you can and when you can't count on things, that to me was sort of a measure of success. Then I know, okay, I can sit back and relax. You can't really do that, but at least there's work going to be coming in. You have enough of feelers, enough irons in the fire to make sure that there's a very comfortable level of income coming in.
Right. And there's also something that I want to highlight that you were talking about where you just kind of know it's coming. You also have mastered the art of, you don't brag, but you definitely know how to highlight your strengths within those networking circles and how to basically always know that you're at a job interview. And that I think a lot of entrepreneurs and startups don't think that they should sell because they're trying to be too humble or whatever it is. They're in business. They need to sell.
Agreed. Agreed. It's funny you use the word humble because that was the word I was thinking of. I try to find a balance where I am being humble, because when you're like, oh, you should definitely use me. I am awesome. I am the bomb. No, you're not. You're just another person that they may or may not use. I think the perspective that I've gained as a marketer is you're always trying to figure out how the other person is going to perceive it. And you try and make sure that you're presenting it in a way that they are going to see the benefit for themselves. One of the things that a technical evangelist does is I'm always trying to get the person who I'm talking to come to the conclusion I want them to come to, but they come to that conclusion. And so I'll present, let's say, if I was pitching my tech evangelism business, doing writing and speaking about technology, I would say, all right, well, I've got 20 years in IT, so I understand your audience. I've been a VP of marketing 3 times, so I understand what you, the marketer who's a tech marketer, is trying to accomplish from a strategic standpoint. And then I can write and I can speak effectively. I just said I can write and speak effectively when I was trying to say that I speak effectively.
It's okay. We don't English well, just because you do it so well.
As I was bragging, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm just trying to be very factual. And then I let the customer come to their own conclusion. I'm not trying to say I am the best, I am the bomb. It's interesting. It's like in those movies, like where there's an action hero, like a James Bond or something. You guys notice in James Bond, they never say, James, you're the best we've got. If they have to say that in a movie, they haven't actually established that he's the best they've got. And so there's that balance of you've got to establish that you are the best at what you do without it being overly, like you said, without it being bragging, but at the same time, don't be super humble either, because you'll never go and say it. You got to find a balance in the middle somewhere.
All right. So I could go like 5 more questions into that.
That's fine. Feel free.
Okay, for the audience that's coming in here, so we've got people that are either rebranding their businesses, looking to up level to get to that next step, starting a business. Maybe they're just toying with the idea of starting a business, or we've also got some people that have been in established businesses and they're just looking for insight from some of the most successful people out there. So talking very broadly, what do you think the best action step that our viewers who are thinking about either starting a business, growing their business, what could they implement right now to grow?
To grow. So we're going to presume they already have something because they're trying to grow, or then if they're starting off with next to nothing, it's fine. I think the biggest challenge for most organizations is, most companies and startups, is trying to get the message out there and having people understand what it is they do and how they differentiate themselves. Yeah. Even I do that. I have the same struggles. I don't have it all figured out, I'm going through the same struggles as you guys are. I know what I've got to get accomplished and where my weak spots are. And so I give you an example that is sort of near and dear to me, but it's just meant to be an example, not to be for everyone in the audience who's watching. But in the tech space, a lot of companies that are starting up, they focus their marketing efforts on telling you what their product does. Meaning it's got 5 digits and 6 whiz bangs, and it comes in 4 colors. And they're just telling you the detail, but they're not saying what they do for them. What'd you say?
You said whiz bangs.
I said whiz bangs, doodads and whatnots and whatchamacallits, and that's what they have in their product. It doesn't matter. But the whole point being, they're telling you what their product does, but not what it does for the customer. And so I think that becomes one of the challenges for a lot of organizations, is getting the word out, but getting out effectively in a way that explains how I'm going to benefit you. Because the number one thing that I found in marketing is you want to create an emotional connection with your potential buyer. And then, of course, with your ongoing customer, with the relationship you have. If you don't make an emotional connection, there's no need for, they're not going to bother looking at your product anymore. They're just simply going to, either they decide they want it or not. But if you can make an emotional connection, now you've got them kind of hooked in. Even if it's a negative emotional connection, like, don't you hate when, or whatever it is. Or it could be something like, this will make your life so much easier and you'll have so much more time, or something. At least it benefits them. So that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges I see with startups is not getting the message out there. But more importantly, I think when you do get the message out there, and whatever medium is appropriate for you, whether it's a live event or it's social media or it's SEO or PPC or whatever the case is, having a message that creates that emotional connection and tries to engage the audience.
Well, all right. So making an emotional connection, and actually, instead of saying basically feature puking of what they do, but actually saying, hey, we solve for this. This is what we can do for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So messaging, I love talking to marketers, because honestly, because the way you say what somebody needs to do is so much different than somebody, say, like a coach that'll be like, you need to get through mindset. And it's like, yeah, that's good too. Mindset's good, but let's move forward and actually present the idea. So it's nice. I like hearing from the practical side. So cool. Most successful people have a daily routine. And I know that you're the father of 78. So it's a little bit hard. Once you have 3, I feel like it's just whatever, party.
It is kind of like that.
So what is, if you have a routine, because most people have some sort of a routine in place, could you share a little bit about what yours is?
Okay, that's a good point. I find that there is a balance between trying to find new business and trying to do the business you already have. And that's part of the routine, is trying not to find those in too much of an imbalance. And I'll give you an example. I need a certain number of hours a day to do writing, to do speaking. And of course I keep a calendar, and everything is even down to, if I've got to write something that's this big for someone, there's still a 15-minute entry in my calendar. So I have that as part of my routine. But there's also I can't have too many calls in a given day. Like even 2 hours of calls for me, because a lot of our calls in my space end up being at least half an hour. They're an hour, that kind of thing. And it just gets too long. So as a matter of fact, you're my second and only call for the rest of the day, because I can't do what I need to focus. Well, I make time for the things that are important. And so very important. You're important. Stop that. Believe in yourself. You can do it, because you're good enough and you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you. So anyways, but so I part of it is starting in the morning with just making sure we're looking over the stuff from yesterday that's come in. That's why the first thing is pressing. Making sure that I've got a priority list of everything that's got to get done that day. A good rule of thumb is, instead of just saying, what do I have to do next? It's more what has to get done today, and then you don't stop until it's done. And so that means sometimes you have to find a work-life balance, and I got to go hang out with my wife and my kids for a couple of hours, and then from 10 to 12 tonight, I got to do some more work. That just happens. It doesn't happen every day, thankfully.
Can I tell your concert story? About
oh yeah, you definitely go ahead. Yes, go tell my concert story.
Work-life balance. All right. So if you guys can figure it out, we've known each other for a very, very long time. But
too long.
Not that. So we are where were we? Were we in Ohio or
Cleveland, Ohio.
In Ohio. So we're in Cleveland, Ohio, and he's all about work. He's setting up the booth. He's getting everything ready to go. He's a marketing genius. And all of a sudden he's like, I got to go. Where are you going? I got to go to Fort Lauderdale to watch a Maroon 5 concert with my wife. I'll see you in the morning.
Well, I bought really good tickets months before, and I forgot that the event happened on the same week.
Listen, man, you found some work-life balance. That's all I'm saying. So he left Cleveland, goes to Fort Lauderdale, goes to a concert, takes his wife out on a great date, comes back, and killed
The next
it.
morning.
Next morning, 11. So, but killed it. So absolutely, like the work-life balance, he's on it. So anyways, you were saying about your routine.
No, that's fine. And by the way, to make that happen, just for you guys, if you're ever traveling, an iPad mini and a Zag keyboard go a long way. You get a lot of work done on an airplane. I can tell you that. Dead serious. I have half a blog written somewhere like LinkedIn. I think I was going to, with pictures and stuff, I was going to post. I haven't finished yet, but I need to someday. All right. So I think that the routine ends up being about making sure that you've got the things that have to get done today. And by the way, I'm not always perfect. I'm a procrastinator by nature, which means I don't ever really want to do the things I don't like doing, and I'll do the things that are fun, like read Facebook or something, right? And you got to stop yourself. So you have to find a way in that routine to make sure that you're reminded. In my case, it's calendar entries with the pop-up reminders, and that becomes sort of my to-do list. So if I do happen to go over, I do procrastinate, or maybe I can't get everything done today, at least I know the things that were due yesterday that are pressing that have to get done. And I think that that's what makes a successful entrepreneur successful, is making sure that everything gets done to the best of your ability. A lot of stuff still falls out, not perfect, but at least I have a methodology in place to ensure that I'm trying to get everything that I can get done.
Got it. All right. Yes. So then what's the number one thing, because you do so much and you don't have an off switch, and you literally go from Cleveland to Fort Lauderdale to Cleveland to...
Technically, it was Cleveland to Miami, back to Fort Lauderdale, back to Cleveland. That's neither here nor there. Remember, the concert was in Miami, so we had to fly into Miami to get picked up at 6:30 to go to a 7:30 concert, and then stayed home, and then went to Fort Lauderdale to fly back out. So
thank you for further illustrating my point that you don't have an off switch. So with that, what's the one thing that will prevent burnout in a startup? Because that's something, I mean, that's what this is all about. It's giving tools and tricks and tips to people that are looking to do this either on their own or in a small group, because the large corporation is starting to dwindle.
Okay, so two things. One is the right tools as best you can. You can't do everything yourself. I mean, just I'll give an example. You're going to send emails out, so you get your copy of Outlook, you open up your laptop, and you start typing in emails one by one by one. That's just dumb, right? No one wants to do that. So go get a free copy of MailChimp or something, right? At least do something that's going to automate some part of your business. There's a ton of software as a service businesses.
Or Entreport.
Entreport, thank you. Yes, Entreport. You love Entreport.
Look at that.
Yes. The A in the middle of Entreport stands for Alex. I mean, Jesus. I don't know. It's just, anyway, so you have to have the right tools. But then the other thing is, don't be afraid of trying to figure out a creative way to grow. So for example, I think I need a marketing person now, because I was doing it because I'm a marketer, and I'm trying to figure out a very creative way to get someone to do it. I've even thought of outsourcing to Russia. No joke. It's just, I'm thinking of very creative ways to very cost effectively help grow my business, because one of the things that you need is you need people that are working either full-time, part-time, some of the time, driving towards the same goal that you are. Otherwise, you're doing it by yourself, and then you only have so many hours in the day, and you can't clone yourself. So you've got to figure out ways to have other people trying to help push the business in the same direction.
I love it. So, and yeah, it's good, especially delegating. Delegating's huge, and getting somebody that is on board with your message and with what you're looking to do. That's big. So if you could tell our viewers to do only one thing to grow their business. Now this is different than not burning out, and this is different than growing, but if you could tell them only to do one thing that would be forward moving, what would it be?
Actually, you're almost saying my answer right there. I'm going to say this same thing in two ways. One is every day do something that moves the business forward. Even if it's something small, send an email out to one customer or a prospect, something today that moves the business every day. That's my overarching goal as I start a second business. Like Conversational Geek was a second business after making my livelihood with tech evangelism. I still said, okay, every day I'm going to do something. I'm going to at least update a spreadsheet. I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to send out an email. I'm going to update the website. So I mean, something every day. If you're not moving that business forward. But in the context of that, we've all heard about, you want to do like, think of like grades in school, an A all the way down to an F. You always go, well, it's going to be perfect. That website doesn't look good enough, so I'm not going to put it out. Well, put it this way. If you don't put your website out, just as the case might be, and it can be anything. I'm using website as the example. If you don't put it out, you're getting an F today. That's what you get, an F, you 0. Okay? But it doesn't look right, and the colors are off. It's C work. So what? Put a C out and then make it a B tomorrow, make it an A the next day. Because there are people that are in business today whose websites, just sticking with the example, are horrible, but they're in business. They have a website with a phone number. People go, well, you know what? He's a plumber. He's not a website designer. Okay, I'll look past the fact that his website's terrible. But at least he or she, as the case may be, has a website. So the same thing for you guys. Make sure that at least you do C work. It's fine. It's not the goal. But if you can't do A work and you get something out, that's better than putting nothing out. I'd rather get a C than an F.
All right. I like it. All right. But so that's actually pretty good. That was a little deep. That was good. All right. Anyway, so later tonight, we're actually going to be sending out a link to this awesome gift that you're giving to our viewers, because a lot of the tools and tips and tricks and freebies that people have been giving they've been knowledgeable. They've been mindset work. They've been, how to live healthier lives while you're doing this without burning out. You're giving something that's actually practical. You can use this in business right now. So can you talk a little bit?
Fancy weird terms like mindset or positivity or something. So just something that I thought might be helpful to the audience that would reach everyone, even though Conversational Geek primarily focuses on the tech space. We do have a book that's Conversational Office 2016, and everyone seems to be using Office 2016 these days. So if you're using that, you'd like to learn a little bit more about what's in it, what you can do with it. It's not a how-to guide, but it does give you an idea of all the things that you can do and what makes up Office 2016. So I thought that might be helpful. It's by Microsoft's Most Valued Professional. That's an MVP designation they use internally. It means those people really know their stuff. Her name is Heather Ackman. She wrote the book. So it's about 60 something pages and a kind of a small form factor, being a PDF for you guys. So we'll make sure we have a link for that. You guys be able to read through that. I think it might be helpful.
That's awesome. And Nick, go ahead. I know all of the details, but if you could just sort of go through how they can reach you, how people can find out more about Tech Vangelism, how they can find out more about Conversational Geek, and
Sure.
Make it accessible so that we can keep moving that along, because you've got 2 startups that you're dealing with.
Yeah, I have a lot on my plate. Yeah. So just real quickly, so Tech Vangelism is at techvangelism.com. It's mostly focusing on the technical evangelism around anything in the tech space. So that could be writing, speaking, online events, live events, that sort of thing. And you can go to techvangelism.com. There's a contact us page. You can also get me there at nick.cavalancia at techvangelism.com. Probably easier just to go to the website. That's a lot of spelling. But then on the Conversational Geek side, again, primarily focused on the tech space, but happy to branch out. We've always been wanting to do that. But if you're interested in sponsoring a book or looking for some books that are around any kind of technical topic, you can go to conversationalgeek.com, and there is a link at the top to contact us. If you're interested in authoring a book, sponsoring a book, there's links for that as well. So appreciate the opportunity today, Alex.
Thank you. All right, I'll let you go. I was your second call, and you need to go vote. So, all right, bye.